Hello, I'll be giving my video for my final for web software security now. Um, so for this final, we were assigned to do something with Burp Extender, and I actually decided to use some of the resources that we were given inside the Google Drive, which was the links to blog.portswigger.net. I actually used two of their different example tools that I thought were interesting and combined them into one. So I took the traffic redirector they had and the event listener and kind of Frankenstein them together into one script. Uh, Forgive me that this is going to take a little while to load. My machine has been slow as of late, so I combined them together. I really liked the idea of the traffic redirector. I thought it was very interesting, and I wanted to try to find a way that I could just make it a little bit more practical for a user. So the event listener simply it was a fairly short script. It'll page over to it. Just literally pretty much whenever anything happens, it just gives you a little notification saying this is what's going on. So for my traffic redirector, which is going to redirect traffic from one URL to another, it just lets you know that that's happening and that's going on, which I thought would be helpful for troubleshooting purposes. I don't think I fully utilized everything that you can do with Event Listener with the putting them together, but I feel like I got some utility out of it. I won't be walking through this code quite as much as the actual traffic redirector and event listener combined, but then here's the traffic redirector as well. I should note that both of these scripts are from the blog.portswigger .net from their respective articles, one about traffic redirector, one about event listener. I went through and learned a little bit about each and decided that I could put these together into one thing, and I think it would work fairly well. So just a quick note about traffic redirector and what it's used for. Here you have the host from and the host to. So from what I got out of the utility of traffic redirector is it allows you to use sitemaps on websites after they've changed their domain. So for example, if I had fully sitemapped out dsu.edu and we changed our URL to just be Dakota State University.edu and dsu.edu no longer worked with that and didn't redirect you there properly, I could use this host from and host to have my burp read the URL. Although it's coming in as Dakota State University.edu now, it would still process it as dsu.edu and it would still utilize my previous sitemap, assuming that the website just changed domain and was still set up the same way. So I thought that was interesting and is kind of nice if you were doing perhaps a pen test on a company and they're like, we changed our domain recently and we want you to try to, do whatever to it. And maybe you worked with them previously and it's actually just the same site layout. You could just plug this in and you'd just show them that you could tear right through that, I guess. Not sure how much real world utility it has. I just thought it was kind of neat. So right now I have mine set. Someone had mentioned this in the comments section of the traffic redirector, and I thought it would just be a pretty simple example. And it's kind of funny to send yourself from Google to Bing just because they're two competing search engines. So up here I have all my imports from Burp. So I have the Burp extender, HTTP listener, proxy listener, scanner listener, and extension state listener. Most of these are for the event listeners. Excuse me. So it picks up any traffic that goes in any of those and just lets you know that there's something going on there. And then I have the print writer. So I had gone over this a bit before. These are just the URLs you'll be sending. This is what, for example, in this, I'll show me typing in google.com with my extender added, and it will redirect me to bing.com. So next we have the implement iburp extender. And I'll try not to make this take too long because my example itself will take a little bit of time since it's kind of slow, and I don't want this video to end up being very long. So here I have all these comments that were also included with the previous script that make it a little bit easier. So we have getting our extension helpers object, setting the extension name itself. So I just named mine extension listeners and traffic redirector because they're just combined together. Register yourself as HTTP listener, proxy listener, scanner listener, extension state listener. So all of these are just the callbacks and then .register and then the respective thing that they do and then self. Key for reference to our callbacks object and obtain our output stream. We have a return statement. So we go down to implementing the HTTP listener. So this is the last point that they both had some overlap in. So here we have process requests, get the HTTP service for the request. If the host is host from, change it to host to. Then down here we have a print statement with HTTP request to. If the however, if the message is request, then we'll do the else HTTP response from. Then we'll have this bracket, have the self.callbacks.get tool name tool flag, and then close bracket. And we get down to the iProxy listener, which has another print statement for proxy request to or proxy request from. iScanner listener, a new scan issue, and then it'll list the issue that you have, and extension state listener, and it'll just let you know the extension was unloaded. So now I'm going to go over into Burp just to show my extension loaded in here. So I have it with Python. I had to do the Jython installation, and I also had to update Java on my Ubuntu machine because I realized that it was very outdated in order to get everything to work. So down here, I'll actually come back to this in a second, but this is just the event listener part of it working, just showing responses and requests. Just I like that it lets you know what's going on. So I'm going to go over to here. I actually have it loaded up to Bing right now from a previous try. So I'm going to go ahead and go to google.com. And it did take a second to load last time, but maybe it won't take quite as long this time. So what should happen is it should redirect me to bing.com. Obviously, this is not the ideal usage of this. It would be more like what I had spoken about before with someone changing their domain. But as you can see there, it is now loading up bing.com, showing us that it has successfully redirected our traffic. Close this down. You can see here requests and to and from. Oh, let me go down to the bottom here rather than showing the old stuff. So responses from bing.com and to bing.com. Interestingly, it seems that it happens early enough in the process that you only get a couple Google. Oh, just actually skip past my Google one. But you can see it sending a request to Google, and then it all just gets filtered in the bing.com requests and replies. Looks like it doesn't want to really work with me here. It's been a bit slow. Oh, there we go. So if I pull this just a little ways up here, you guys saw. Yep, there's some Google.com ones as well, so just showing that it doesn't just show the Bing.com within there. So yeah, that is my project overall. Just a quick run through of the code. Credit for the actual writing of the script goes to the Portswigger, blog.portswigger.net, and I used there as basically I took their two scripts as bases, and then I edited them slightly so that they'd work together with each other. And yeah, thanks so much for watching.